Welcome to the developer walkthrough of the Android and Steam game Andromeda: Rebirth of Humanity. This first video is going to be a relatively brief summary of the game, and in the next video I'll start a new file and explain how to play the game starting from the beginning. So, what is this game? Andromeda is a multiplayer online universe sandbox game for Android and Steam, and hopefully iOS eventually. It doesn't have much in the way of a story yet. The bulk of its content comes in the form of 2 galaxies full of planets shared by all players, and dozens of resource types that can be extracted from those planets. Resources extracted from planets and asteroids can be used to build and outfit fleets of ships, which can be sent out to colonize more planets to extract even more resources. Because resource management is at the core of the game, it is heavily economy oriented. Trading with other players to acquire the resources you need is encouraged, and the universe is persistent, which means anything gained is kept. Credits, resources, ships, modules, and even the game's microtransaction currency can be traded between players. Resources can also be bought and sold between players using the bazaar, which facilitates trade even when one player is offline. Basically, it's a multiplayer universe sim about colonizing planets and becoming rich in a virtual economy. There's a PvP element to the game too. Everyone gets their own starting system separate from all other players, where they can build safely. Everyone also gets their own instance of Sol with Earth, the Moon, Mars, and all the other planets. But at some point, players will want to expand to either Andromeda or the Milky Way, both of which are open PvP. So how does PvP work? If you encounter a planet owned by another player, it's possible to push them off of it and colonize it yourself. Although actually taking a planet from someone who puts any effort into defending can be quite difficult, as the defender has multiple ways of defending their planets from being taken. Everything revolves around holding orbit around a planet. Only one fleet can be in orbit at a time, so you can park a fleet in orbit over the planet and no other players will be able to do anything to the planet until your fleet is defeated and they take orbit. If your fleet is defeated, a player can pirate the planet with their fleet in orbit, which takes a few tiers off of random buildings on the planet and gives 75% of the original build cost to the person doing the pirating. Because quite a bit of effort can go into building up a planet, there's a second stage of defenses in the form of land units on the planet's surface that have to be defeated before a planet can be completely taken. Land units take a long time to defeat, giving the owner a chance to react to the attack even if they are offline when the attack started. Also, the number of offensive land units you get is extremely limited compared to the number of defensive ones, and offensive capable land units are more expensive than defensive ones, so the defender always has a built-in advantage. How does fleet combat work? Fleet battles are 1v1 and can have up to 12 ships on each side. Combat mostly comes down to who has the stronger fleet, but fleet strength doesn't come about just by slapping 12 of the best ships into a fleet. Good fleet composition can make a night and day difference. It's strategic enough that a well-designed fleet can beat a much stronger but badly designed fleet, and when 2 fleets are similar strength, a player manually controlling abilities well can mean the difference between victory and defeat. Ships have roles more like a traditional RPG game than a space game, with ships that can draw enemy fire and tank damage for the rest of the fleet, ships that can repair or shield other ships, ships that have high damage output, and ships that can apply status ailments. Ships fire most weapons automatically, but there are on-demand abilities such as Repair Beam or Nuke that can be used either by the player or by an AI. Ships don't move around in battles, again more like an old-school RPG than a space game. There are more RPG-like elements with the module system. Modules can be equipped to ships to add additional automatic weapons, on-demand abilities, or stat boosts. All modules have the qualities like you'd see in an RPG, such as common, unique, rare, epic, and legendary, as well as tiers that can be upgraded with resources. Maxing out all the modules on a fleet makes up the bulk of the end game once you're flowing in credits and resources. The game is free. What's the microtransaction system like? As someone who never buys in-app purchases in any game, I know how annoying it is when games are pay to win or when content is locked behind a paywall. So I've tried to make Andromeda as non-pay-to-win as possible. Microtransactions can buy time crystals, which can be used to skip build timers, refill the resources on a planet slot, buy cosmetic holograms to put on ships, access the developer creation tools for a planet, another cosmetic thing, or be able to sell a few extra resources on the special order screen. None of the built-in perks from buying time crystals give any huge advantage over a player that never purchases anything. However, since time crystals can be traded, it is still possible to sell them to other players for resources and credits. So you can technically trade cosmetic and convenience-only stuff for progress. In the end, time played will always be a much larger factor than money spent. I'm pretty sure most of the people that do buy time crystals buy them more to support the game than anything. Anyway, that about does it for the summary to help people figure out if they want to play this game or not. In the next video, I'll do an in-game walkthrough showing how to actually play the game from the beginning in a way that people can follow along if they want. It's got a lot going on, there aren't really any spoilers, so watching the walkthrough is kind of recommended for anyone wanting to shorten the learning curve. Alright, that's it for this video. Have a good one.